Good morning. Good morning. Not going there, not going there. I'm not saying that. But it's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
Although a bit more Hollywoodized than the actual truth, as per usual. But Robin Williams, of course, as Adrian Cronauer. And this was made in 1987, I think, 1988. But he ad-libbed everything. And if you, young person, have not seen Good Morning Vietnam, then you really, really must. Because it is a classic of a movie. Very sad and of a time in the 60s. And look, I don't think we've actually changed much. Mm-hmm. People are still being censored. People are still trying to speak out. Also, there are things that people don't really understand. People jump on causes. I was going to say bandwagons, but not everybody jumps on a bandwagon. Of course, there are people who do that, who take causes and advocate for ulterior motives. We know that. That's optics. But it's also speaking with intelligent people who are compassionate people, but seeing that they're not actually unpacking things. And people repeat things like justice for one and justice for all. But what does that mean? What does that mean? And I'm afraid that that's not how it works, really. You have to. Well, now, what am I saying here? Whoa, what am I saying here? Yes, it works for all in that equity for all, peace for all, justice for all right now has to be hierarchical. And I feel that it's only about what is the loudest at the moment. Like, I'm going to say something very, very contentious. There are a lot of brown and black people who voted against the First Nations people of this land we call Australia now, for them having a voice in the Constitution. Because it wasn't all the Euros. It wasn't all the Euro-white people who did that.
Well, you know some who...
I know quite a few Euro-white people who voted for, are pro, justice for all but also not quite understanding completely, because I do see it even amongst my most liberated thinking Euro-white friends. I see that they don't quite understand that does mean Euro-whites have to step off. Absolutely all platforms they have. No longer can Euro-whites be on platforms and say, look, we're including everybody. Inclusivity, come on. You're not the benchmark. You're just the construct. So it's... I'm just, young people now, talking with them, and they have no choice but to advocate for... And I'm seeing noble brown people, black people, and absolutely they are doing the right thing. Everyone's doing the right thing by joining forces and fighting for the oppressed people in the Middle East. Well, I'm going to say Palestine, right? I've also fallen into that thing where unfortunately, all these platforms are punishing us, those of us standing up for humanity, those of us who are humanitarian, and against genocide, because life is finite anyway. Everything on this, except sharks, apparently. Everything on this planet.
And
cockroaches we have a finite life cycle. I guess you could say, well, sharks die, don't they? Or do they just live on? Ugh.
Well, I mean, they're apex predator in the ocean.
So do they live on? Do they die? Do they have a finite life cycle?
Well, I think now that we're the apex predator, yes.
Yeah.
They do.
They do have a finite life cycle. Likewise, cockroaches, because cockroaches in the city, yeah, mate, it's war. Poor cockroaches. Yeah, they do. They're like, I do think that they have a hive mind. They think, then they look up at us and go, "You may kill us, oh, puny human." but our mind lives on type thing.
Oh, wow. That's scary.
Yeah, those. But humans also are of that mind, except we think we're individuals. We are. We're individual vessels. The whole world is traumatized. The whole world is depressed. Being positive in such, the people who are carrying on with life, who are really, not carrying on with life, where everyone's carrying on with life. We're carrying on with life. Everybody carries on with life. They're carrying on with life in Palestine whilst waiting for them to be bombed. They're carrying on with life in Congo and Sudan, in Yemen, in Syria. What's happening with Syria? Lebanon. What's happening all over there? What's happening on the streets of Paris, where black people are constantly facing? What's happening on the streets of Australia, where First Nations people are still not getting the justice that has eluded them ever since they got colonized. They didn't get colonized. The land got colonized. They got enslaved. I mean, why do these conquerors keep slaves? Why do they keep people alive? What is this need for humans to have trophies of their conquests?
Yeah, well.
Now, what those colonizers are doing, these ex-European refugees, what are they doing? And also, why? But of course, the narratives have been set in stone of anything said against what they're doing is anti-Semitic, when Semite is really all of it. And I've explained before, the actual literal term means is a language term coined by German scholars around the 1700s. Of course, a lot of things happened in the 1700s.
Yeah.
A lot of things happened to change the worldview in the 1700s. Now, yesterday was the 29th of February. Well, of course, because today is March the 1st. Hey, it's the first calendrical date of autumn. Well, still a bit muggy.
Fall? Is that fall? Autumn?
Fall in the States of America, yes. Of course, they call it fall. Of course, they drive on the other side of the road when everybody else drives on one side of the road. But it's almost
Metric, imperial.
Yes, but it is the American British, because who do you think white Euro-Americans are? I mean, they were British and they were French, they were Irish, and really all German. So, it's...
And the English and German.
The English are German. So the British were German. The Irish were the original English people.
Yeah.
Or one of the Celts are the original, the Welsh really are. And there's two factions of Celt. Anyway.
Oh, yes. Also lost.
Everyone's so
searching
lost.
For something.
They have no identity, so they went out and decided to get everybody else's identity. And their culture is one of conquest. So anyway, where was I going with this? So let's rewind. Where have I gone with this? Where have I gone with this? Oh gosh, really, we must keep notes, and this is perhaps why I shouldn't have a conversation, because then we tend to expand things, and then I forget where I was. My apologies, I can't even rewind this. I wish there was a real, hey, YouTube, how about this really fantastic thing to do? Just let us able to rewind in live. Or maybe it can, I don't know. What was I talking about? And why do they keep trophies? Why do people keep trophies? So I don't really know what's so the ex-European refugees, like, why if it's too contentious. It's too contentious and far too many consequences, far too many people who are advocating for the right thing, and that is anti-genocide, are now being punished. And I think the world is now seeing it, but guess what? The world has been complicit in this as well, in cementing the term anti-Semite into making it something that has become a real thing. Because I also don't quite understand, I do know in terms of facts, etc. But it's pretty silly that the people of any faith are are punished for their beliefs, unless, of course, those beliefs say, well, anyone outside of that faith is nothing, and pretty much every single religion.
Yep.
What you were going to say?
Yep.
Pretty much every single religion. So I need to start writing down notes, darling, because I want to converse with you because, about this, but this is why our podcast is best for that.
Yeah.
Because then, when we're recording, we can actually pause, like, what was it? What did he say? And then rewind and go back to it. See, because I've forgotten now. And
So
yes, the terms, right? So I was saying what that actually means. I was talking about the 1700s. So I'm going to go right back to what I was saying. That word actually was coined, and I'm going to go back even further. That word was taken from the name Shem. Shem, who was one of Noah's sons, according to the biblical texts. Not messages, biblical messages. And so Shem, and then the other names were also have gone on to be classifications of people and languages, really. So the actual term Semite refers to Arabic, Hebrew languages, or Judaism languages, Arabic, Afro, and Hebrew languages are all under Semite. So Arabic people have a right to call themselves Semite as well. So people don't really understand the term. Also, it was co-opted to mean something bigoted. I get it, because, my gosh, I follow accounts, Jewish elders for Palestine. And it's all the older people and people who truly understand what faith is, who truly understand what trauma does. Those of us who have truly been traumatized and have an understanding that when your soul gets traumatized, you get this incredible depth of compassion, and you do not want anyone else to suffer the way you have, or you have experienced someone you love suffer that much. You just don't. You don't want anyone else to suffer. But people do also hide behind faith to make sense of the suffering that people have suffered. Really, by now, the world should have taught us this. Religion is really not fixing anything. All it's doing is creating shields for individuals to hide behind. And I have always stated, and now I guess I'm going to rehash or repeat or say things that I have already said quite a bit of, particularly on our Instagram account where the lives used to be. And I do talk about how beautiful religion could have been. That religion was, to my understanding, something for everyone to use to help guide themselves, because not everyone knows how to, isn't that lovely? Not everyone knows how to guide themselves. Not everyone knows what to do. And points you have made, darling, that, well, there's more people in the world now. At one stage, there were only 10,000 people in the world. I know, a long time ago. 1 million. Now we have 8 billion. It's unfathomable to think of a world that only had 1 million people, let alone, we don't actually know. Do we really know? Did all of the animals that the chimp, right, that we came from, did they all of a sudden stand up, or was it one? Who was stand up zero? Who was human zero? Who was Homo erectus zero? But of course there was Neanderthals. Yeah. And then what's happened is that because I feel, and I don't want to, because Duane and I are doing in-depth things about this. So Neanderthals perhaps were on the same continent as the Homo erectus that became Homo sapien.
Yes, of course. I mean,
Right?
that's scientifically
That's
proven.
scientifically proven. And I think
all
that those,
existed together.
yes, the more, the evolved, the one that was, what should I say, evolved, or was Neanderthal completely different, right? They considered a completely different thing, a different species, sorry. But I don't think it was, I don't have qualifications from a Eurostream, institution saying that I'm smart. I have to rely on my own brain for my intelligence, and unpacking it with other incredibly intelligent people and coming to a conclusive, open-ended thing, because we will never know for sure. We can carbon date all we want, and those are very factual things. But the Earth has given us lots of ways to prove our duration of time, length of time here. So I think that when the ones who melted out of their glaciers and had lost all their melanin, they saw the Neanderthals, who also perhaps migrated but were able to withstand the elements more. Perhaps they became, because what I don't understand is this ingrained thinking in Euro whites and light-skinned people, why they think they're superior. What is this ingrained thing in the Euro mind that thinks it's superior? Now, it's also, we can say this, I'm Indian, I believe this way, but we know this of our racial groupings, that Indians also think that they're superior, and Chinese do too, but maybe not superiority in the sense of capitalistic superiority or the construct superiority. Just of how long people have been here.
Yeah, so if we unpack that further, why Euro whites think they're superior, maybe there is an answer.
That's what
So it's ingrained in them.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's ingrained. And I think...
So you unpack it in all seriousness, not as a...
We always unpack in all seriousness.
Yeah. Not as a... I don't know what I'm saying.
A joke, or not to make fun of them.
Yeah.
Because I don't.
Yeah.
I don't want to make fun of them. I'm very, very aware of how
very curious thought.
racist they can be. But as an Indian, I'm very, very aware of how racist everyone is. Indians are racist to each other. We come from the Pacific region. Whoo, boy, the racism that we experience from that. So talking about it, and I feel that it is the survival instinct that kicked in, and it's a very much an individual survival instinct, and that was because they lost the melanin, so they were freezing to death on the European continent. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
We don't even need to go back in to it's unpacking it becomes as simple as that.
And survival is the main cause of evolution in most cases. The struggle, and the mind has to change to overcome it.
That's right.
Right. So being in those kinds of environments, and probably the surrounding areas, like the animals there as well, would have been just terrible to live with.
Yeah.
And we're living in sunshine, and
So no worries, mate,
no
kind of thing.
Worries, yeah.
But again, okay, that's interesting, because something we talked about. Everybody, because it's been really hot in Sydney at the moment, everyone's got their aircon on, right? We don't. We don't do aircon. It's hot. I'm not denying it. So it's like, but... And then a question is, why go to countries you can't actually survive in without adapting the environment to you?
Yeah.
So all of these people, when in conquered countries, they can't actually survive in, so they made the environment change to them. And that's what I believe happened.
Yeah, sure.
So instead of adapting to the environment, they adapted the environment to them. And that is still what is happening. That is still what we do. That is our modern day civilization. We adapt the environment to fit us because we think we are superior to the environment.
And then the other argument is that evolution?
Ooh. Oof.
Is that what our purpose is?
Is that what we were, I'm going to say predestined, but more in a DNA evolution thing, because DNA is such an amazing thing to happen, and it evolves every time, every life cycle. So what you're saying is...
Yeah, so basically terraforming.
Oof. So...
Yeah, to suit whatever.
But okay, our brains do that to us. That's a metaforming.
Yeah, sure.
You know, it's and how quickly do we all adapt? I mean, how many of us said we're going to stop driving? Duane and I have. We have. When, you know, fuel gets get ridiculous prices, traffic gets impossible, no one stopped driving. So much for electric vehicles and hybrid vehicles and all that stuff. There's still the same amount of cars on the road. There's still the same amount of traffic. It's actually getting worse. And fuel is getting more and more expensive. So electricity is getting more and more expensive. Nothing's actually, everything's just sort of like, let's just make it look like we're, you know.
Yeah. How is everything, Chris? Like, how is everything getting more and more expensive?
Wars. That's the thing. Why, you know, we adapt to it like, ugh, everything's so expensive, you know, and we're all caught up, so stressed and caught up in the cost of living and wanting to pursue dreams. We are full-time freelance creatives. Yeah, I know, right? I mean, subject to everybody else's ability to pay us. They demand the work, and then because they're like, oh, blah blah blah, you know, mortgages and children and stuff like that. I'm like, well, these are all just ball and chain stuff to keep people chained. You know, a cousin of yours who was in the arts sector campaigning for it, you know, developed a bit of a name for themselves as whatever, and now is in the corporate sector because, well, stop having kids. And then when I ask this question, people are like, no, it's part of the, you know, I'm like, it's not anymore. Not anymore. People have kids out of ego. People have children because I guess it's our purpose. Children were, and this is something you and I talk about, darling, about how now, well, human beings have not fulfilled what they were supposed to on one evolutionary path. So, you know, this is the thing. There is no one correct path, but they very naively seem to have been one proper path, and then lots of other paths that it can happen because that's what happens. That's what the concept of multiverses, etc. You know, and how you make a decision that doesn't mean that, but it's now gone off onto a different path. We were talking about love and how sex really is supposed to be the ultimate form of love, but it's become something else. And I keep saying we need to talk about this because I'm seeing some very disturbing things. All these Euro-white women influencers who are now, you know, they're promoting anal butt plugs and it's the most pleasure you'll ever have. It's like the body made that area the way it did for reasons. The nerve endings exist so you can get rid of your feces and your waste. It doesn't, you know, I'm sorry if women, you know, it's kind of weird. And this is, I really want to talk about it because I'm an old prude. I have been and am extremely, I hate this term now, sexually liberated because it means something else altogether. When sexual liberation comes from an absolute understanding of what your body is supposed to feel when making love. That's why it's called making love. Sex, we do need to talk about this on the podcast, darling. But there's things, and I'm going all over the place because I want to go back to when you said, is this evolution? Were we really supposed to evolve into that which we are when we look around, right? And there's things flying in the air, you know?
No. Yeah.
And I'm not talking about planes. Even that's the miracle. So it's the evolution of human mental progress to look around, be inspired about what the earth is, and then understand that, okay, so human beings can't fly. So I think this is lovely that the brain was able to construct, brain had the ability to create planes by looking at what birds are doing, understanding that we don't have that, but we're being inspired, you know, to do that. That we have inspiration all around. It doesn't make us superior. It just means that we are able to learn from what is around. So how did our ancestors learn before words?
That's right.
By being
Observation,
inspired and observing. So evolution, is this evolution? The people are wondering, where did the sex thing? Anal? She went straight, where did this come from? Because, well, it's all quite tied in. But instead of asking the question, why are women unable to orgasm naturally through their vaginas and their vulvas and their clitoris, why are we then making, it's as a changing, adapting the environment always to suit purpose instead of going back to source and asking, why are women's cunts numb? Why are we all, again, has to be in the conversation.
And we broke it down to having sex for the wrong reasons.
People have sex for the wrong reasons. And then it's all been about liberation because everybody gets, we all have sexual urges. And I absolutely, as a young woman, absolutely did not feel any guilt, etc., whatever. I was sexually liberated. And I truly believe women have naturally and organically and what is meant to be, women are supposed to be the ones to choose who is going to impregnate, who is going to enter first of all. First of all, it's the chemistry. Is that chemistry right? But we're also lost under this masking of synthetic smells,
But that's what we talked about as well. In nature, the woman chooses
the mate.
The male
is the peacock, literally.
Is the show-off.
Yes.
He's the attractive one.
Yeah.
And the woman goes, that's the one I want. And that should be the case in human interaction, right?
Yes, but we see it as peacocking, as like surface stuff. For all we know, underneath all the fluttering and all of that, is showing the female that their offspring is going to be strong.
Right.
Is going to be able to do choose wisely and have humility.
Yeah, sure.
Whereas in the human species, the peacocking is seen as like, if I've got the car, if I've got the money, if I've got the tats, if I've got the whatever, then
Yeah.
It's I don't know, it's a really strange thing. But I do, yes, absolutely believe that women have the evolutionary right, not just the right, it is the role that women choose. Excuse me, darling. Just need to get something off your beautiful eyelashes. So again, we've sort of digressed, but not really. It's just that I try to pack in a lot into.
I'm doing this.
Yes. So, no, because I want you to, but it's easier on our podcast, darling, to have a conversation rather than this. So now when I'm talking about all of that, and by the way, if you've all of a sudden fainted because I said the word cunt, please understand, and regular viewers know that I find nothing derogatory about a word that is solely feminine. I find nothing derogatory about words that are considered feminine and are used against us to denigrate us, to what? I don't know. Make us feel ashamed for being women? I don't think so. By the way, I have written about the etymology of the word cunt, and I will actually rewrite that article, which is now 10 years old, the last time I wrote about it, and it'll be on the Stylander, about where and what the word actually meant and how it has now come to, hello, babes, I'm talking about the word cunt. And the etymology of it. So good timing, Az.
He heard you from afar. Oh, he?
Yes, pronouns are he. Yes, I've already checked. Okay, now we can talk about pronouns too. Look, there are parts of me as a Gen Xer and also as a human being who understands what we were supposed to be, that I feel as that side. So let me just get that out of the way. I think that it is the lack of identification within self that causes, it is the vessels, right? It is the inside not matching what the vessel looks like.
Right, yeah.
So it is the vessel that decides the pronouns, etc. And I think, so for me, it's like, well, that's because people are so traumatized, they can't identify. They can't find their identity, not identify. They don't know who they are, and therefore need lots and lots of labels to find out who they are because they don't want to choose the binary. Now, making it non-binary and binary has also made it binary. Understanding what binary is about progress and about it creates power. Literally, if you look at any power switch, do you understand your power switch? What can I show you that shows me a power switch? Goodness me! Right now, I've got nothing around me to show a power switch. Where's the microphone? The speaker.
Here.
Oh, right. Look, see. Can you see that? That's 0, 1. That's binary. That together, but that's not a good example of it. The speaker, anything that is actually an on switch, anything that is an on switch is actually the 0 and 1 of binary to create power. That's how we are created, human beings. Thank you, my darling. So look, that. Right? Literally, it quite literally is sex. For procreation. Sex was given pleasure. All human beings were given the capacity for pleasure because sex is ultimately about love and it isn't binary. Sex, the pleasure side of it, isn't binary. Now coming back into this generation, because I am also very firmly of the belief that no, it doesn't matter how old you are, you have got to adapt. Not adapt, you don't have to, as a Gen Xer, I don't have to be the way of this generation, Gen Z. No, as a Gen Xer, it is my duty to make sure that the generations below or younger are flourishing, are able to grow in peace. And look, that's a mess for, Gen Z was born with trauma, into trauma, surrounded by trauma. And as an older person, I can't look at them and go, look, come on, you've got to be a little bit this, a little bit of that. Because as a Gen Xer, I think, wow, this generation hasn't had a chance to feel peace,
Yeah, well, yeah.
to actually feel some sort of progress. We come from a small country with big personalities where it was extremely progressive. And now it's kind of, with all the technology there, it's kind of backwards. I mean, they have bigger, they have skyscrapers now, but the minds are all really quite low. I've got a cough and I'm going to go back to the word cunt. The regression, while the buildings get taller, the technology gets bigger. I mean, the lands keep getting mined. I've still got a cough, excuse me. The earth gets raped for the progress of technology. Anyway. So, where was I? So, yes, as a Gen Xer, I do absolutely understand. And I'm fascinated by this generation that is still able to advocate. Why? Okay, this is the thing I have with it. Younger generations should never have to fight for their right to exist. It is insane. Insane. Whilst everyone is kept busy fighting for the right to exist, no one is going to be able, unless you're privileged, of course. The more privilege you have, but what are the privileged people doing? Oh, they use all their privilege to entice. Oof. You know what? Old people need to go. Old people really need to go. They're living the longest, these older Gen Xers. And look, this naming of the generations is very much a Eurostream thing, because it doesn't quite. Naming of the generations is very much a Gen X thing, Eurostream thing. Because can we really apply these terms Gen X and baby boomers to, say, a country like Fiji, when the baby boomers, that generation in terms of age, well, they weren't necessarily the privileged. They were just having lots of children to gain privilege, thinking that because in God.
In culture?
Well, I was going to say that, but then explain the Mormons. The Mormons have lots and lots of children.
You can say religion is a culture.
Well,
Right.
certainly has now,
Yeah.
because now we actually cite two main religions as being actual racial classifications. So someone can be Indian, someone can be Fijian, and someone can be Muslim, and someone can be Jewish. And I don't understand how a man-made construct based on the spirituality of the world becomes then a racial classification.
Well, then you can argue that everything's a man-made construct, even race.
Well, race is a man-made construct. Yes, borders around what people are. As I've explained before, Caucasian, right? The word Caucasian. Now, brown and black people use Caucasian. There's this term that it's very witty, caucasity. Oh, the caucasity. Because audacity is applied to brown and black people. Like, oof, the audacity of us being able to think that we're this. You know, Euro-whites are considered so, wonderfully, just bravo. But if you're brown and black and think that you can be the conductor of a symphony, then it's considered audacious. How the audacity of that person to think that they can do that. So, audacity, I guess, depends on the color of your skin. The color of your skin depends on... Let me go back to Caucasian. The meaning of that word. Again, coined in the 1700s thereabouts, I think, by a German philosopher, not even a scientist, a philosopher, coined the terms Caucasian and the other ones, which I really can't stand these terms at all, based on facial features, and it has nothing to do with skin color and the lack of melanin. By the way, also PSA, there is no such thing as white skin and melanin. There's only melanin and the various shades of it. So, it's only albinoism and melanin. Okay? Everyone has to have melanin, otherwise you won't have eyelashes and eyelash color and eyebrow and, a little bit of thing, whatever. So Caucasian doesn't mean white. It actually also, that classification also includes Southeast Asian. And I'm going to go so far as to including the Pacific under that. Because if the Pacific origins, if the origins of Pacific people, and I know Pacific people don't like this, they love saying that we voyaged across the seas. Where did you voyage from? Why is that not asked, even though it's freely available, that the whole journey came from East Asia to Philippines down to the Pacific? Taiwan is the origin of Pacific people. And by the way, the Indians also voyaged there. I remember reading something a long time ago. And let me tell you something. Okay, I'm going to go right off there, because this is the Daily Egg, I might as well do this. And this is only going to be relevant to Indians and people from Fiji. Because of the book I'm reading, by Geeta Mehta, a very, very respected author. And this book was, I've had it for that long, I think. It's from the 1990s. And it's called A River Sutra. Now, sutra means a collection of tales or sayings, something like that. And this is a beautiful book about the many cultures of India, the many beliefs of India. And so I won't talk about this book just yet, but it just sparked my memory because it's talking about a river, Narmada. So Narmada is actually a beautiful story of how this river came to being. Narmada was a beautiful, was a woman that Shiva granted river status to because the water could be anything. I'm sorry, I'm just going all, but my point I'm getting to is this. It's actually also called Rewa. R-E-W-A.
Wow.
Now, and it starts from sort of it comes across this way from Madhya Pradesh. It comes down this way to the west. Now, this reminded me of a story, which actually is, I do remembered it recently because in recent times, a really amazing thing happened in Fiji where, okay, there was a shipwreck of, and the ship was called Syria, and it was shipwrecked off Rewa. And it was the Kaiviti that went and rescued the people on the boat who were indentured laborers who had set sail from Kolkata, which was known as Calcutta. By the way, people didn't realize that under British rule, Calcutta was the capital of India. And it's on the east side, absolute east, so east side, up there, the west of Bengal. Bengal, which also is related to the fact that we were watching Phantom again yesterday, Bay of Bengal. So Bengal is a different country to India. But the West Bengal is Kolkata, which is Calcutta, which is where all the indentured laborers set sail from Rewa. Now, recent times, the people who were the descendants of the survivors of that shipwreck, were given actual Kaiviti, official Kaiviti status. I have to go find all of this information. I might have to write about it. But they were given a special Kaiviti term name to say children of the chief, because the chief basically, it was a beautiful thing that happened.
Wow, cool.
On the Rewa Delta. Now, I can't find out because Rewa is a province. There's 16, 17 provinces? I don't know. I'm so sorry. I do know. It's all just, in my mind library. You're from, Duane's paternal side is from Madhuwatha. I'm not at all Kaiviti, Duane is. But my father was born in Nandronga. So that's another, the Na district of Viti Levu, from Nandronga. So it's Natandola, Nandi, Nahingatoka. Oh, the history of Fiji, I love the history of Fiji. I love there's so much wealth there, just absolutely contaminated by colonization. But anyway, as is the word cunt. I know people are like, oh my God, she said that word, because Google says it's the most heinous thing you can call anybody. Right, okay. Anyway, so a lot of these things we have mentioned here, we'll talk about in depth on our podcast, and also I will get back into writing. At the moment, it is better for me to flow with my words. I don't need scripts, and I don't edit, etc. But it would be nice if I can just start writing all of these things I'm saying about. So I will have that article. Because I've already written it, all I need to now do is look at it from a 2024 point of view, that article I wrote last. So anyway, but as I was saying about generations, it's the older generations still think that their ways need to the older generation. What's happening with the older generations? They haven't found satisfaction. And because we all start seeing our mortality, I'm over 50, I'm 53. When you get to 50, it's like, damn, half a century. Every second after that counts. And long-term viewers know I have been looking forward to being 50 since I was 20, because I couldn't wait to see if I was going to be the woman that I was aiming to be. I wanted to get to this age and look back at my life and go, wow. Well done. Oh, I didn't waste it. And I'm not talking about material shit. I'm not talking about success in terms of what you own and your assets or your fame. Fame, my goodness me. Fame is just what people use as a shield again. Oh, this is quite a full episode of lots and lots of things. Side by side, what is the main point of this particular episode? Religion. I was talking about the fact that religion doesn't seem to have changed anything when religion could have been the guide that it should have been.
Well, nothing has really changed.
Nothing's changed. Everything's regressed. There is no progress. Technological advancement isn't progress, it's technological advancement. How can it be progress when, as I said earlier, the world is getting raped for technological advancement? That isn't progress. When you have children working in mines just so, cutting a long, terrible story short, just so we can have batteries to power this very medium that we now, these tools that our mediums of communication rely on. That's not evolution. Or something, maybe we have talked about this actually, darling, and this is the thing. Evolution doesn't have good or bad. Evolution doesn't have right or wrong. Evolution just is. And it is up to us to decide what the balance of that that evolution is going to be. So as I had talked about, we had started talking about on another one. Are we reaching perfect evil? Evil depends. I don't believe there's any such thing as evil, because we all have the capacity to be evil. It's just good versus apathy. But anyway, my friends, look, it's that time of day where I have to go because we have to do our things. And also, this was the Daily Egg for March the 1st, 2024. My goodness me, February took all year. But I do love the month of February because, hey, it's my birthday month. Anyway, but yes, it is the first, it is the calendrical start of autumn in the southern hemisphere and the start of spring, calendrical. By the way, the word calendar comes from the Latin word to mean the first of the month, the calend. And yes, I still haven't posted yesterday's episode of the Daily Egg on February 29th, the leap year, because I was explaining about the leap year and actually about calendars and how this all came into being, and how the Gregorian calendar that is what we use now, named after Pope Gregory in the 1500s, who started this calendar. Before that, we had the Julian calendar. Before that was the Roman calendar. However, my friends, that is just that side of things. There's all the other calendars, the lunisolar calendar of the Chinese, the lunar calendar of the Indians, because the North and the South have also different. But the most accurate calendar in the world is the solar Hijri, the Persian calendar, which then became, Persians became Iranians, became North Indians. Oh my goodness. So I will publish that episode from yesterday, but otherwise it's time for us to go. Thank you very much for being here on today's The Daily Egg. Regardless of what time you're watching this, enjoy your day as much as possible. Do find the joy in everything, because my gosh, they insist on leeching it out of us. I'm not saying, as I say, don't put your head in the sand, because not even emus do that. Understand what's going on around you and how it affects everything. We were talking about how fuel, etc., keeps going up. Very simple reasons, but we seem to think for some reason that's just the natural order of life. Nope. No. But anyway, we'll talk about that maybe tomorrow. See you tomorrow on the Daily Egg. Thanks for being here. Bye. And I still don't know if when I press this, it's done. So I'm just going to